All right, welcome to the second part of Microsoft Defender for Identity demo. And this is the fun part where we would be looking into attack simulations and detection. And I hope after watching this video, you may see the value proposition that Microsoft Defender for Identity brings for our organization, right? So without any further ado, let's just dive into and see what we need to do. And we'll start with our lab setup first. So let me show you what my lab is. I built this lab in Azure. I have a single domain AD forest called as MDI test right here. And within this domain, I have got three devices. One of them is a domain controller, which is DC01. Second is my admin workstation. This is actually a server that is admin WKS. And third machine is the victim PC, which is a Windows 11 machine. The DC01 has already been installed, the MDI sensor, as I discussed in my last video or previous video, and it's already sending the sensors to the Microsoft Defender, right? Pretty straightforward lab setup here. We have got these users which you should keep an account for because this is what we would be playing around for next hour or so. So Jeff Black is the victim where his account and his machine is compromised, hopefully because of some phishing attack, and a perpetrator or an attacker can get access to his machine, which is this victim PC. We have Jacob Fenske, which is a domain admin. I have one more domain admin that we created by default, which is Azure admin. I should have mentioned it here, which is also an enterprise admin. Jacob Fenske is only the domain admin. Azure admin is domain admin, enterprise admin, schema admin. Ron HD is my help desk person, and I have a SQL admin honey token account that will see how it works. We have helpdesk 01 as in helpdesk group, right? That's pretty much it as far as our lab setup is concerned. I'll go and go a little bit more deeper into setting up the lab correctly. So let's just get into the lab. So I am on my admin workstation, which is my server here. I'm logged in here as, I guess, as as the help desk guy, which should be Ron HD here, right? And what we have done here is in terms of setting up this device, if I can go to the computer management, and local users and groups, I have modified this membership, removed the domain admin default one and left only the default account, which is Azure admin, and then the help desk guys, right? So that help desk guys had the administrative privileges. I have allowed my domain admin to be able to do the RDP, which is what generally people would do that. They would not give the controller, the administrator rights. So that's pretty much it, right? Now, when I go into, I have installed the tools here. So if I go to Active Directory here, which is what is our MDI test as per my diagram, I have got Jacob Fenske, which is my domain admin, Ron HD, which is my help desk guy, SQL admin is my uh, Honey token account, right? And in here I have got Jeff Black. I also created this account to see if I can modify the group membership and see some detection in MDI portal, right? Now, if you see here, Jeff Black should only be the member of domain users group, right? While if you go into Jacob Fenske, he should be a domain admin. So he's a domain admin. And Ron HD should be a member of helpdesk 01 group, right? So this is all set up here. Now, in addition to do that, I'm also running a script on this one so that I can keep getting the credentials uh, for Jacob Fenske on this machine. I'll quickly show you that script here that is running. And this is this script here, simple script. I'm actually using getting the DC01C dollar here, and it runs every 300 seconds. So my credentials are always up on this machine for Jacob. That's this machine. Of course I have a DC01 which I can show you later, but let's see, this is my Windows 11 machine, and here I'm logged in as Jeff Black, host name victim PC. All right, this is all set, and let's see if I have the computer manager. Now if you see here the local administrator group, Jeff Black is a local administrator. Generally that's what people would do, and he's also the help desk 01 is also a local administrator here besides the default account, right? So this is all set here. um, Now, in order to get the credentials of Ron on this machine, which is our help desk guy, we need to do some tricks so that he is going to offer a support session on this machine so that his credentials are also stored in the memory on this victim PC. And that's how we will perpetuate attack, and we'll go around it in a second. And here you go. So that's all set. Our lab is pretty much all set now, and we're going to start executing some of our activities. Before I actually start doing some attacks and showing you the detection in MDI, let's just understand the anatomy of this attack first, right? Because otherwise it will be very confusing. We would be doing many attacks on in this demo for next 1 hour, and you will get confused. So let's understand what the anatomy is. So let's divide this attack into three separate phases. First would be a reconnaissance attack. Second would be a lateral movement, and third would be a domain dominance, domain escalation kind of stuff, right? So we'll go into that one by one. So the first is that let's assume that the victim PC has already been compromised somehow, and some perpetrator or hacker has already entered into that system, or it could be a disgruntled employee that is going to initiate these activities, right? So this could be possible just not by an external intruder, but it could be an internal disgruntled employee could also cause the same similar damage. Now, having said that, what this particular intruder perpetrator would do is that as a part of the first phase of this attack, when the attack is being built, he or she would do a lot of reconnaissance attack, right? So we will see that we will do the network DNS, network mapping DNS reconnaissance attack, do the lot of directory services reconnaissance attack, right? So in that we'll see directory services enumeration, where he would get the list of all the users, all the groups, all domain controllers, the member domain admin, enterprise admin. He's trying to gather as much information as possible, as extensive information as possible about the Active Directory, so he can actually attack appropriately, right? So that's the whole premise of the first activity of the reconnaissance phase. So we'll see that, and there would be a lot of things that we will be doing in this demo, I promise you. All right, in the second phase, we would do the lot of lateral movement activity, and we would try to do the domain escalation. So two activities in the second phase. The first phase was the reconnaissance attack, where we are trying to get the extensive information about our Active Directory. Once that is completed, the hacker is already, or the intruder or perpetrator is already on the victim PC, and now he's going to try to do more advanced attack. And basically, he would try to do at the end of this particular phase of this activity. He would be able to do the domain escalation. And when I say domain escalation, that means he would be able to get to a domain admin ID, or fake the domain admin ID and log into the domain admin ID, right? So that's what would be the domain escalation. Now, how would that happen? So it would use multiple activities to get to that level. So as you probably already know that this NTLM hash, NTLM being a very old protocol, this NTLM hash are stored in the memory, right? So Now, if you recall back, we ran a script where the Ron HD, which is our help desk guy, was running a script, and he tried to help and supported Jeff Black. As a result, his credentials, his NTLM hash is in the memory of on the victim PC, right? So what is the first step that we will do here is to get the dump of that memory so that we can get the NTLM hash out of it. Pretty much we will steal the NTLM hash of RON HD in the first phase. Remember, RON HD has writes on the admin workstation. And in the reconnaissance phase, we have already identified that through the IP and SMB attack, if you recall back, that which machine is on which machine the Jacob Fanske, which is our domain admin, is logged in. We know that Jacob Fanske is using the admin workstation in this scenario, and that we already gathered in the reconnaissance attack. So now, since I got the NTLM hash of Ron HD through the memory dump, now we can do the next activity where we will overpass this hash. So we will use the NTLM hash stolen out of the memory dump and use it to actually emulate or log in as Ron HD. Once we do that, now we are able to go and actually start our activities on the admin workstation. Remember, on admin workstation we have Jacob Fanske domain admin logging on there. So now he's going to go to the next step, which would be the domain escalation. And what he will do is that as a hacker or as a perpetuator, since he has access to this admin workstation as Ron HD, he would run some tools or some commands that you will see and try to export all the ticket granting ticket on that machine, TGT. TGT being the ticket granting session, right? So Kerberos TGT. I think I have explained it later in this video. Once the TGTs are obtained, it would use the Jacob Fanske TGT session to do the domain escalation, and pretty much at that point, that on victim PC we would be able to actually log in as Jacob Fanske. So that's the domain escalation. Now I have got the domain admin privileges in the environment, and I can start acting and going into the next phase of my activity, which will be domain dominance and domain supremacy. That would be my third phase of this attack that we are building here, right? So in the last phase, the third phase of our build activities, the first thing that we would see that since we have already done the domain escalation, since we have already got and logged in as Jacob Fanske on the victim PC, we will test our capabilities and we'll make sure that we can access, for an example, the C drive on the domain controller. We can also see that we can create a new user in Active Directory. We can see that whether we can add that user into a Active Directory group, right? And that is proving that we can run the remote codes on our domain controllers. So that would be a remote code execution process. And as we move further into this build activity, we can also try to do a lot of other activities, like we can do a malicious replication of Active Directory, so that you can push your thing, which we can use later in the golden ticket stealing and golden ticket creation, right? We can do the data API detection here or protection activities you will see down the road. And the goal here is that somehow once we do all these activities, we do the malicious replication, we do this, and that at the end we will be able to get the skeleton key. The skeleton key is interesting, which I have explained it later. The skeleton key means that once you initiate a skeleton key, because now you have rights as a domain admin, you can inject a new password for every user in Active Directory that you know. So basically, it will allow you to log in as any user in the environment. Since you have already obtained extensive information about your Active Directory, you know who is who. Now you are able to do whatever you want to do in this environment. You have the rights for SQL, you have the rights for database, you have the rights for domain admin, you have pretty much everything, right? and that is the ultimate goal. And last part would be the golden ticket. In this golden ticket, we would be able to steal, use the existing ID, use his NTLM hash, get the Kerberos ticket that we got it into a malicious application, and then as a result we can sign on in every single ticket in this organization, in this Active Directory. So that's the overall three-phased build activity that we're going to see in this demo. This demo is going to be long, guys, because this is a lot of things that we are doing which you might have never thought about, which you might have never seen it. So stay tuned. Let's start the sequence of our attack. So we'll start with reconnaissance attack, as well as we'll start with credential update attack, credential attacks, and that's how the perpetrator who has got access to the victim PC would gather the information about Active Directory. And you will see how simple and how easy it is to get extensive information about your Active Directory. It's not even funny once you see it, and most of you probably already know it, but it becomes very easy to build an attack the way this perpetrator wants to attack the environment, right? And that's where the whole credentials identity theft starts. So we'll go into that. Let me just show you where we will start. So we'll start with reconnaissance attack and credentials access attack. These two will group it together. We'll try to do the network mapping reconnaissance attack first. And what we will do here is from the victim PC, we would run the NS lookup command, and then we would also try to list the zone or transfer the zone and see whether this initiate the trigger, and it is detected by MDI. Then we will do the user and IP address reconnaissance attack, where we will try to use a tool. By the way, I have downloaded some security check tools on my victim PC. I have to disable the antivirus on that so that I can download some of the tools which will mimic uh, these attacks on the Active Directory. So I have already done that. I have got those tools already there. We will run the net SAS tool here to do this, and it will create an SMB attack on the environment, IP address and SMB reconnaissance attack, right? You'll see it. We will try to find users and group membership reconnaissance here. We'll try to do the security principal reconnaissance attack here. I will try this. I'm not sure whether I would be able to do that. Account enumeration reconnaissance, we will also do that. We'll do this honey token activity. We'll do this brute force attack. I have been trying to do this ASREP roasting attack. I have not been successful yet. I'll give it one more shot and see if I can make it work. And that would be our activity for reconnaissance and credential access. The goal here, team, is that we need to understand that as a perpetuator, how much information he or she can obtain just by having an access to the system, right? And the point that I'm trying to make here is when we I mean, phishing emails or phishing activities are so important, and as a result, organizations should be very concerned about this phishing attack, because these phishing attacks would allow the perpetrator or attacker an access to the system, and moment that perpetrator gets access to the system, you will see that how simple it is, how easy it is to build the attack. It's not even a rocket science. You don't need to be a genius or a truly big hacker or a developer or a coder to perpetuate that attack. It becomes easier for us. So it is very important from security perspective that we secure our endpoints, and we use all preventive measures to avoid any pilferage, any leakage. We do not allow these phishing emails or phishing activities. So user education is extremely important. The credentials is absolutely important. The account lockout, the password policies are the key areas as a security person that we should be constantly looking at it, because those are the areas that can prevent these possible happenings, right? So with that, let's just go to network mapping reconnaissance attack here, and I'll try to, I have already done that, I'll show you, but I'll also recreate it now. And it might take few, 15-20 minutes to show up on my MDI portal, but I already have done it, so I can show you those incidences already. So let's try to do a DNS reconnaissance attack here, and it is very straightforward. And as I cannot type. And then we're going to connect to our domain controller DNS, which would be dc01.mdi.test, and then we are going to try to list the zone and transfer the zone. It should fail actually, and that's it is. And now we should be able to see this attack in our MDI portal. As I said, this time it might take 15 minutes to show up there, but I already have done it multiple times, so I should be able to show you how does it actually looks like there. So here you go. You see here send AXFR query resolving MDI test to DC01. This is what I was testing yesterday, and it was very easy for me to find it because I could just filter it out by DNS query, and I can see that right now. If I go down here, I should also see some of the thing that I was testing yesterday. These are all AFXR queries, and that's what we are seeing right here, right? So this is one simple example of DNS reconnaissance attack. We'll move to our next attack level now. You can see it right here, and if you think this is good, you could ignore it. If you think this is a possible attack and somebody is trying to hack into your environment, then you take a corrective investigation and prevention, right? Which is what we shared in the first part of this video. So guys, I can show you the NSLOOKUP query that we did 741 is now showing up here, right? And momentarily we should also see the Active Directory enumeration that we did momentarily. Once it shows up, I'll show you that. I can also show you that you can also see the directory data about this is a member of this is a victim PC, it's a member of domain computer. You can get more details around it, right? This is where it is. All the details that you need, you have at your fingertips. Similarly, if you go to Jeff Black, who is our victim, you can search it, and I can find it more details from directory here. So he's a member of domain users, right? And he is also, you can do other activities here if you want to take an action, right? And then this is what is his SID, security identifier, which many of you are familiar with. And we'll also see the path because I have been testing few things. So there is a lateral movement path here that we will be going into a discussion momentarily, right? But I'm waiting for that incidents to pop up. So here you go, guys. The queries that we ran against the Active Directory here, right? All these, what we did here is I did the net user domain. So I queried all the users in Active Directory. It gave me these users that I have already shared with you, right? So it gave me the list of the users. So as a perpetuator, now I have the entire list of users in your Active Directory, right? I can export it to a CSV, and I have this handy to start building my attack. I can also find all the groups in your domain, right? So here you go, and you have all the domains, including the help desk 101, right? These are the default one, and the one that we created, it help desk 01. So it now has the information about all your users, all your groups in the environment. So now next thing that he does is that he says, okay, who are the domain admins? Okay, I found the two domain admins here, right? And these are Azure admin and Jacob Fenske, which is what I shared. So if as a perpetuator, I can crack the password of either of these two, I'm already on my way. I don't have to, engineer or build a sophisticated attack because now I can start causing damage right there, right? I also know who are the members of my enterprise domain group, right? And here you go. As I said, Azure admin is the enterprise admin group. This is simple command that we use in Active Directory all the time, but now hacker is using that to his benefit gather more extensive information about your environment. It'll keep going here. And you see now he knows the domain controllers here. And he knows the domain controller DC01. So if he can get access to the Jacob Fenske, he can freaking go ahead and log into DC01 to the RDP here without even doing a sophisticated attack. Now all these activities that we did is now reflecting on MDI, right? Now you see here, it enumerated all users, it enumerated all groups, it queried domain admin, queried enterprise admins, queried domain controller. So this should be a triggering activity as a security personnel. And if you start seeing this happening, you should be worried about it. Say, hey, somebody is actually entering into my environment, because an ordinary user has no business to do all these activities, right? Jeff Black, which is my domain user, which is an HR guy, why should he be doing it? And that raises the flag. And as I said, detection, right? Investigation, prevent and remediation, and then prevention. So that immediate action is that before I do anything, as soon as I investigate it, and if Jeff Black is doing, I need to change his password. I need to change his, or maybe disable his account temporarily, talk to him, what's happening, what he did, look into his machine. So these are the activities that immediately happens, right? So we have shown you two different reconnaissance attack. One is the DNS reconnaissance attack. Second was the Active Directory enumeration attack, right? So now we will keep going and keep building the next level of attack as a perpetuator. Keep in mind that this is being done by perpetuator, right? So that would help us steer this discussion further. Next attack that we are going to do on our Active Directory from reconnaissance perspective is we'll try to do a user and IP address SMB, which is the protocol that we use in Windows Word quite often, server message block. We could try to do that on the DC01 and try to get the host information from DC01. So we'll see which user is where, right? So that's the objective. I downloaded this tool at NetSAS tool here, and I'm going to run this tool to see whether it can actually create an alert there, right? It should actually create an alert, SMB alert. And I'm going to talk to DC01, which is my domain controller. I already got that information. My domain controller is a perpetuator. And I see the Jeff Black is already logged in here. I need to do one more trick here to make sure that I can get the information about the Jacob here too, right? So give me 1 second. So I just want to make sure that Jacob Fenske is logging on to the domain controller through my admin workstation. So I ran that script, and now I see that Jeff Black, who is my victim, is logged on to this machine, which is 10.1.0.4. While Jacob Fenske, he is my domain admin, and I can see him that he is on this machine and 10.0.0.4. So if I can find out either from my NS lookup or DNS query, or there is other tool, that what is this machine name is from 10.0.0.4, I can start building a lateral movement and start getting into that machine and build the attack further up. And that's a progression, right? So that's very important. Since I have done this, I should see momentarily, I should see this event, this alert popping up on our MDI portal. So let's go to the portal. And here you go. You see here almost instantaneously. User and IP address reconnaissance attack has just happened because of the tool that we ran, right? And it gives you all enumerated session on DC01. That's what we ran the command net sas, and that's how it reported it back. So as I mentioned in my video one, that it's almost instantaneous real-time activity that you are seeing it, and you can take a corrective action, right? That's the whole point behind it, and we are seeing that in a real time now. This is the value proposition I mentioned, and as a security personnel, now you know that you have to investigate it, you have to figure it out, what this Jeff Black, how it is happening, and once you investigate, you can actually do the remediation activities and prevent a possible buildup, right? The attack buildup, which was the core premise of using MDI tool. You act proactively instead of dealing with an attack and dealing with an identity theft. You are advanced, you're secure, you're smart, and you're monitoring your environment in a way that you can preemptively prevent all these possible security identity theft instances, right? That's the whole objective here. So I showed you this. We'll move into the next level of our attack now. Again, we are still working on reconnaissance attack. So next is that we're going to try to do a security principle reconnaissance attack, and in this case, I have downloaded this tool which is called as a aura.dat.exe, and we would run this command. This would try to gather all the information about your Active Directory, right, including group policy, users, groups, membership, everything, and try to find the through the security principles here, right? So let me try to do this, and then I'll show you the results. So as I mentioned, after running the aura.exe for security principle enumeration, the reconnaissance attack, we see all this being done and reported here on MDI portal. All group policies, all accounts, all groups, all trust, computers, users, objects. Obviously, this is a red flag, and as a security principle, we need to investigate it, and then we need to remediate it and prevent possible damage, right? That's the whole objective. And the four pillars that I mentioned in my first video are important, and now they are making sense because we are detecting it, we are investigating it, we are remediating it, and at the end of the day, we are preventing possible attacks, right? Big attacks or security theft, or sorry, identity theft. All right, so we can move to the next possible attack now. Next, we are going to try to see how the honey token account behaves, and the only thing that we can try to emulate that activity is trying to log on to victim PC with the honey token account, which is SQL admin account, and see with a wrong password, and because that account has been sensitive, that account has been honey token account, so MDI should detect it as a honey token activity, right? So let's try to do this, and I'm gonna choose more choices here, use a different account, and I'm gonna do SQL admin at MDI test. So now I'm gonna try to log in here with incorrect password. And that should precipitate a honey token activity in my MDI portal momentarily. So I'll wait for a few minutes to show it up. And as I promised that the honey token activity for SQL admin is now showing up. I search for SQL admin and it shows up the activity SQL admin and admin workstation. It has happened from admin workstation, and it was trying to via DC01, it was trying to log in. It failed, right? So this gives you right here, there's all the details here, Kerberos traffic, login failed. And that is a honey token activity that I mentioned. And we're going to keep going forward into the next level of attack. And you see here what we are trying to do is we have already gathered enough information about this Active Directory. We know the domain controllers, we know domain admins, we know enterprise admin, we know all the groups, we know Ron Tamsky's the help desk guy, and as a perpetuator, I have gathered enough information to build my attack, which would be the lateral movement as a next level of activity, right? So as I said earlier, these perpetuators very systematically build this attack right from the ground up, ground way to go all the up, and the final thing may be that they would be able to steal your skeleton key or skeleton password. That is a universal password that applies to all the Active Directory accounts, and that's scary. That's really scary. So at that point, security would have no idea. Even if I can get access to that skeleton key, which I would try to show you, then I can log in with any ID in this environment and make a mess. And if audit trail comes in, it will be that identity that I used it. Nobody would be able to figure it out because I would be logging on with that ID with my skeleton password, right? It is so difficult to even find it. So that's the scary part, and that's what I mentioned earlier that once we get there, I'm going ahead in my game, but I'm so excited to show you all that because what will happen is that That brings the value behind this MDI, right? If you can prevent those possible attack, if you can prevent stealing your domain supremacy or domain what do you call the golden ticket attack or skeleton key finding, then the product has already proven its worth, and that's my whole point, right? So let's move on to the next level of attack. So next attack, I'm going to show you the Active Directory attribute LDAP attribute reconnaissance attack here. Very simple. I just did that, and I tried to do it twice. It failed. Obviously, I should not be able to do that, and as a result, it should be precipitating in my portal on the victim PC where it is Active Directory attribute, right? Excuse me. Resource-based constraint delegation was used on MDI test Active Directory files, right? This is where the LDAP attribute reconnaissance that I mentioned to you. So I have covered almost most of them. Let me see if there is anything missing in terms of the reconnaissance attack that I can. Probably the brute force attack. I'll try to show you that quickly. So as I said, next we are gonna do the account enumeration reconnaissance attack. I have created a users.txt file with fictitious user, and I have this PowerShell script that I downloaded, adlogin.ps1, and I'm gonna try to log in with these fictitious ID and see if on any of them I am successful with this password, right? And obviously I'm gonna fail it. This is gonna reflect back on my MDI portal that I'm doing an account enumeration reconnaissance attack, right? So we'll see momentarily. And here you see the alert as an account enumeration reconnaissance attack. That's what is happening, right? And these are the one that we tested with these identities here. So that is a clear-cut kind of a account enumeration reconnaissance attack, right? Let's move on. This video is going to be long, guys. I'm trying to show you as much as possible. Hopefully it brings the. Next, we're going to try to do a brute force attack, and I have already exported all the users in my Active Directory. These are the users, and we're going to try to run this again, the AD login against this account, and see whether that precipitates as a kind of a brute force attack. It will be very similar to account enumeration actually, but we'll give it a shot. You can also see those 13 accounts that um, we tried to log in earlier, right? And obviously they're going to fail. They are non-existent account here. That is definitely a kind of a brute force attack. And we should see this activity soon here. So I can now see all brute force attack that we have been perpetuating. I just filtered here, and now I can see all the users, this, right? So this is where we are seeing the brute force attack, and that's where you could look at it. All right, since we have already completed the reconnaissance attack, and as a perpetuator, we have gathered enough information to build our next level of attack. We're going to go into the lateral movement and persistence attack together, right? And the first thing that we will do is we'll try to steal the NTLM hash of the Ron HD, who happened to be supporting this victim PC, and he has his credentials sitting in memory. So we'll run some commands to steal the NTLM hash. And once we get NTLM hash for Ron HD, we're gonna pass the hash, right? Pass the ticket, pass the hash here, pass the hash, or overpass the hash, where we would steal that hash and um, launch a command prompt as ron ht on the victim PC, right? And since we once we launched it, now we can see and we can access the admin workstation. We already know that we have identified the 10.0.0.4 as being used by the domain admin as an admin workstation. We already have this information, so we'll leverage this information and generate that ticket and try to go to the next level. So before I go to the next attack level, let's do these two activities first quickly. And I also want to show you that before I execute those two commands, and show you that as a user, as a Jeff Black, which is my domain user, should not have rights to access admin workstation C drive, right? So let's check it out. So as I mentioned, I am logged into the victim PC as Jeff Black. Jeff Black is a domain user. He should not have any right on the admin workstation C dollar, right? Which I did, and it immediately say access denied, and I need to pass some other credentials to get around it, right? So that's the first thing I want to show. And once we mimic this account, right, with ronht stolen NTLM hash, then we should be able to get to the admin workstation. So that would be our next test and next attack. All right, so let's move on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this command. I downloaded this tool, which is mimic-atz.exe, and I'm going to create this victim PC txt file, try to get all the NTLM hash that is sitting in the memory of this particular victim PC, right? This is on the system. And that's scary part, but let's do that. I executed this, and this should have created a victim pc.txt file in my temp directory. We will open it and try to see whether we can get the NTLM hash for ronht. So here's my file, victim pc.txt, in the temp directory right here. If you can see it, right? And here is the NTLM hash. Now I would use this NTLM hash and overpass it and try to log in as ronht in a command prompt and try to steal the other tickets, which is the ticket granting ticket from the admin workstation, right? So that's what it is. So we can do some more additional tricks here. We already know that once we run the net SAS exe earlier in the reconnaissance attack, that what is the IP address that our domain admin uses. And if you recall, that IP address that domain admin was using in the net SAS exe, that IP address SMB reconnaissance attack that we did, in that it was showing that IP address was 10.0.0.4. We already know what that 10.0.0.4 system is, and this is where we're going to build that app, right? So let's see if I can get this thing going. And let me do one more thing here. So as a perpetuator, I try to find more information about Ron HD, which is a help desk guy. I have already gathered that information in my earlier, the account enumeration part of it, right? We have seen that. We have all the users listed. I know now Ron HT is a member of help desk group. Or you could also do it multiple ways, because when you are doing the reconnaissance attack, you can do net group help desk, and then you can find the membership. Now we know that Ron has that credential. We also know that on the admin workstation, uh, which is being used by the domain admin, we should be able to get into that using the help desk, because this is the account that is a member of administrator groups. And let's get to the next level where we'll overpass the hash and try to get into that system. So I'm going to overpass that NTLM hash, and what I'm going to do, use the same tool. And as I said, these tools are available, guys. So it's nothing that I'm doing something very extraordinary here. And anybody, without even having these skills, if you know that, you can do that, right? So the only thing that I needed is NTLM hash, which I already have it here. Just copied the NTLM hash from the step that I stole that NTLM hash earlier in my first command. I'm going to replace NTLM hash here, which excuse me, I did it. My domain is mdi.test, and I should be able to log into that system by overpassing the hash, right? So let's see if I can do that. It should open a new window for me, and that is what it did. And actually, I'm logged in here as as Ron HD on that system on the admin workstation now. So if I do this here, so no, I'm sorry, I'm not yet logged in. I'm so sorry. I'm not yet logged in there, but I have logged in. I'm logged in on this system, on the victim PC as Ron HD. Since I'm logged in Ron HD, now I can hit the machine. And so far, it has not reported back on my MDI. But as soon as I use this stolen hash, overpass the hash, and try to access resources on admin workstation, then it will precipitate on the MDI too. So let's try to do that. All right, so now I was able to do, you know, pass the hash. I logged in here and see here I'm trying to see the admin workstation C dollar, which I knew that that's a admin workstation where the domain admin is logged in. So if you recall, when I showed you last time when we were trying to access the admin workstation C dollar from the actual machine logged in as Jeff Block, we were being denied. Now, since I have logged in as Ron admin, Ron HD here, now I am able to get access to the C dollar side. We'll continue building our attack to the next step. And now what we're going to do is we're going to copy this mimic file here to our files to the admin workstation and execute the command from the PS tool or PS exec on remotely on the admin workstation to generate the Kerberos tickets. And then we'll bring the Kerberos ticket back here and continue building our lateral movement here. So let me do that. So I have copied the mimic ATZ files on the admin workstation, right? Running this command here, if you can see it. Those files are copied. Now we're going to execute this PowerShell, remote PowerShelling on admin workstation. Execute this mimic ATZ file to generate all the Kerberos tickets that are on that admin workstation or admin workstation. Many of you who do not know TGT is ticket granting ticket, and the way it works in Microsoft Word is whenever you try to sign into Active Directory, the DNS gives you the right domain controllers. That's the first part, the DNS query, and based on once you get the DC, you make a Kerberos call, and then the LDAP authentication comes in. Once I Active Directory authenticate you, it issues you a ticket granting ticket, TGT. By default, the duration is 10 hours, 600 minutes, unless you change in the group policy. And that ticket is valid for 10 hours for you. That's your entry, that's your token in the network. Wherever you go, you don't need to authenticate anymore. You would present that TGT to give you access, right? And the hacker would try to steal that TGT, the ticket granting ticket, and use it to make a next move and continue building up the attack to the next level as a part of the lateral movement attack process, right? So that's what we're going to do now. And I already copied it. We're going to run this command remotely there. Let's do. So I successfully ran the command. See here from my PS tool folders, which I had downloaded all earlier, the PS exec. And when I ran that on admin workstation from the new folder where I copied the mimic ATZ file, I was able to generate all the Kerberos tickets. And if you see here, this is all the Kerberos ticket that is sitting on that admin workstation. They are actually created in the same folder, in the new folder on the admin workstation. So if I can show you right there, let's take it. I'm going to come back here, and then I'll show you the files. We'll copy back those files into our environment here, only the files that we need. But this is my, let me minimize it so that it makes easier. So here is the new folder. So you see all the tickets TGT tickets that users have logged in on this admin workstations are now here. We really don't need all of them. We only need for our domain admin, which is Jacob Fenske, right? So Jacob Fenske, basically the Kerberos tickets, right? Like this, like this. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna copy these back on our victim PC, all these tickets, and then we will leverage these tickets to do the domain escalation. Basically, we're going to log in as domain admin as Jacob Fenske once we steal the ticket granting ticket for Jacob, right? That's our next activity. So let's do that. And I ran the command here, right here, and I was able to copy all the files, all the tickets that I have for my Jacob Fenske, which is my domain admin. And we're going to continue building. So we're going to delete the new folder, the file, the tickets that we created on the admin workstation by running this command here, remove directory. We have deleted the whole directory there. So we have not left any tickets or any of those mimic ATZ files there. Now we will try to be finally the domain admin on this victim PC by passing the ticket, right? We saw in our PowerPoint deck, we're gonna do the PTT command, pass the ticket right here, and we will make it happen now. Let's do it. So I executed the command successfully, and as a result, now I am logged in as Jacob Fenske here. This is my K list. If I can show you here, right? K list and Jacob Fenske is right here. So I actually tweaked it, and I am on this victim PC sitting as a domain admin. I should be able to hit my domain controllers now with this credentials. And you see what I did here is, because I'm a domain admin, I have done domain escalation on this victim PC. I have rights to log on to the domain controller and get the C drive there. Remember, neither the Ron HD has the rights to get the C dollar from domain because he is not a domain admin. So now we mimicked it, we tweaked it. So that's a huge success from a perpetuator perspective. We'll continue building our attack further. Attack. And in this scenario, what I'm going to try to do first is I'm going to try to create an Active Directory user, and that user we will try to add it to administrators group on Active Directory. So this would be a remote code execution, and that should also be reflected on MDI. I hope so. So what we did here is that I ran this command to create this inserted user in Active Directory with password1. Very simple net user command. We are all very familiar with this. This was successful, so we created that. And after that, I added this user into the administrators group. And the result is, if I go to my Active Directory right here, inserted user is right here, and we created it. So we did a remote code execution faking the Jacob Fenske account on victim PC, right? So see how powerful it is and how simple this attack is. And that's what I was talking about, that you will be shocked to see. And this is just the beginning, friends. We're gonna go to a skeleton key level soon, and then it would be more shocking. So I think I am proving my point here. I know this video is getting long, but I don't think I have any choice. I'm showing you the right thing that you should be seeing in my viewpoint. Hopefully it makes sense. So as I promised, remote code execution attempt, we created that user, right? And that is showing up right here. Jacob Fenske, you know this is a fake. Now this is not actually a Jacob Fenske. And that's the scary part of it, right? Who's doing it? Actually, it is the perpetuator or the attacker doing it, but it's showing here as a Jacob Fenske. So it hides everything behind it because we have stolen the ticket granting ticket for Jacob Fenske, right? And we will continue building this attack and we'll show you more activities here momentarily. Next, we're trying to do a attack on data protection API. All Windows domain controllers keep a backup key that can decrypt any secret, any password that users stores in in a browser or anything, and we're going to try to steal that particular secret, the backup keys. We just did this here, and it should do that. It should create that event in MDI portal too, right? So we just did that, and here is the key that we got it, and that is the one that could decrypt any secrets, any passwords that is being used by users. So that's pretty powerful again, but look from the perpetrator perspective. He is gonna create a lot of damage to us, and that's where all these identity thefts starts it. It's not rocket science. And as you see here, it has detected it. Malicious request for data protection API master. That's another attack. We are creating real issues on this environment team, right? We're going to keep moving forward, building this attack, and see where do we end up. So next attempt that we're going to do as a perpetuator is to replicate our user information between Active Directory forests or Active Directory domain controllers. We're going to do the malicious replication here. I ran the command here. This is the command that I ran, and it has exported this file here, which I was seeing. Where did it go? Right here. This is the harvest. This is what is using the master key again, guys. Here, this is scary stuff. Basically, all this what we are doing is really high end, and I hope you're getting the value out of it. We should see this event again being detected in MDI. All right, the final attack in my viewpoint would be to get the skeleton key. And once you have the skeleton key in your hands, that means you can log in with anyone in this environment, do whatever you want, and if any audit trail comes in, it would be that user that would be questioned, not anybody. Nobody would even know it, right? So all security controls would probably be hidden, disguised, pretty much. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to copy this mimic ATZ file onto domain controller. Since I am now acting as Jacob Fenske, which is my domain admin, so I have access, as I already showed you, to the domain controller, and I should be able to copy the mimic ATZ file there. My files are copied. Now I'm going to run the remote PS shell most likely and get this going. Final movement, guys, to get the skeleton key. We're going to run the remote PowerShell to psexec and see whether we can pull the skeleton key out of this environment. So the Active Directory replication task that we ran through the admin workstation, right? We see it now here. It's being reported using RDP. Replicated directory services data from victim PC is right here, right? So this is another attack. Now we're trying to get the skeleton key, and I'm just almost there. So guys, I was finally able to get the skeleton key, which is the scary part here. I remotely executed the command there on my domain controller as my domain admin because I stole it, right? I have the TGT session of Jacob Fenske that I'm using here on victim PC. I ran the command and I got the skeleton key. What it means is that on every single account in the Active Directory, it will add one more password, which is this password, mimikatc. So let me show you how it works, right? So if I go here and I open a command prompt, and I'll open a command prompt as a normal user, that is Jeff Black on this guy, and I'll run some simple command and you will see that what happens. If I run as and try to open a notepad on this machine while I'm logged in as a Jeff Black, so it asks me for the password. That means the password still exists for this user, which is my help desk guy. But if I don't supply the password, it's going to error out, right? Now, on the contrary, if I have copied that file, the password here, I I can just copy it back on my cursor here, and I do this again. And this time I just use the skeleton key, and here you go. I open the notepad successfully as Ron HD. So basically now I have the skeleton key in this environment, right? So we are very close to complete this demo. I think last thing that I would show you is the golden ticket. So we'll be getting there momentarily. So it is recommended after you use the skeleton key to reboot the domain controller so that it does not just add additional authentication RC4. So I'm going to do that on my domain controllers quickly. And I'm going to reboot it just a sec. So I will try to do one more funny thing here. I will try to do an RDP session on my domain controller as Jacob Fenske and using the skeleton key, right? So let's do this here, and MDI Jacob Fenske, and I'm gonna copy the password right here, and then try with this password because this is the skeleton password and it should let you get in. So basically now I'm logged in as Jacob Fenske, and I'm not even using Jacob Fenske password. I'm using the skeleton key and I can do anything I like. And that's the scary part. I try to create the golden ticket, but I'm somehow failing. Maybe I'm not getting the right ticket session. I got too many of them. But I think that is where I would say most of the tests are done, and I'm just waiting for MDI portal to report it. I'll show you as soon as I see it. So folks, we can see the suspected skeleton key attack now right here, and you would see that we did the RC4 attack here, 3 accounts compromised, and that's exactly what I was mentioning. Skeleton key, as you know, is pretty risky as far as I see it, but that's the level of attack a perpetrator can do to your organization. All right. So I was actually able to create the golden ticket right here. If you see here, right? So I use the normal Jeff account SID here, that which I can get it by a simple command there, and then I use the NTLM hash that I already stole it for Jeff Black, and I use the ticket that the KRBT or Kerberos ticket that I was able to get it out and steal the golden ticket during the malicious replication activity that we did it in past. Right, what happens with now is that because of this golden ticket, a user can sign any ticket and authenticate, right? That's exactly what I did here to steal the golden ticket already to the malicious replication, use the SID security identifier for my Jeff Black. Then I also use his NTLM hash to duplicate it or fake it. And then I use the ticket that I got it out of the malicious replication activity, right? And then I was able to create the golden ticket as well. So that talks about and finishes this demo. I know this is really a long demo, but I think it brings the value, and you would understand that why should we be using MDI. And please give me your valuable comments. Your comments are most important. That keeps me motivated. Trust me, this is not for money. This is just to give back to the community. Thank you again for watching it. I really thank you for your valuable time, and have a great day or great evening in whichever part of the world you're watching my video. Thank you again. Bye bye.